You're going to have your good days and you're going to have your not so good days. And on the not so good days, or the runs or the strings of not so good days, like what I'm having, you're just going to have to power through and to just make it work.
The following program contains disturbing materials that may not be suitable for some resellers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. This is John with Flippin Ain't Easy. And today I'm out here in my garage and I thought I'd make a video while I'm working. Jenna's behind the camera, but I'm dealing with some good and bad news. And so the good news is, and I guess this would be good news for really most people, I am absolutely inundated with product. I got more product than I know what to do with. The bad news is I don't have enough product for my main store. And I talked about this a little bit on the members video that I put out yesterday. So if you're not a member, what are you waiting for? But nonetheless, I'm going to talk about it a little bit here, in that my bread and butter is the main store. Number one, it's the store that really pays our bills. And the second store is one where it's kind of been our crap store. And if we make a few bucks here and there, great, but it's not as important as the main store. Well, um, the secondary store is building up, and the main store is kind of falling off. And it's not by design. It's because of the problem that I was just talking about. It also has a little bit to do with the state of liquidation. And we talk about liquidation all the time. And that's my comfort zone. That's my wheelhouse. And it's changing, guys. It's not the same as it used to be. Rewind 2 to 3 years ago, liquidation was a totally different animal. These things are collectively causing me problems. And so we're dealing with the product that I pull in on these pallets. And I had Jenna, she was in there testing. Like, we had 3 Nespresso machines and 2 Keurigs, and only one worked. Did one work or none work? Two worked. So if you're buying pallets with, it used to be a return rate of 20-25% were just not going to work, and now it's like 50+%, maybe 60%. Well, now those are items I can't place on my main store. And so now I have limited items I could put on the main store, and I have a lot of merchandise that I could put on the secondary store. Well, how can I put broken items on my secondary store? Easy. I'm parting this stuff out. And it wasn't something I ever had to do before. 10 to 20, 25% of merchandise that was broken, throw it out, right? Don't have time for it. So now I find myself getting out, all the tools, all the bits, and I'm breaking these things down, learning, which is good. It's good to learn. Uh, my sales are falling off, though. Collectively, it's not as bad as it seems. So maybe on the main store, I'm getting a couple $200-300 in sales. Like today, I have $276 in sales, and I've only listed like 6 or 7 items on the main. On the secondary store, I might get $200 in sales. So you might say, well, it's the same as having a $500 day, but it's really not, because there's more work involved in breaking down these items. And collectively, I mean, one unit, like my Breville, for instance, my Breville espresso machine, I was able to get like 36 different parts off of that thing.
And not to mention all the returns that happen because people think that the parts fit their units and they don't.
Well, we're getting a lot of people saying, hey, that, like, we had this glass globe for a ceiling fan, and they're like, hey, what's the measurements on that? I have this brand ceiling fan, and it's like, well, this is for this model, it's not the same. And so I don't even entertain that conversation. It's like, it's not going to work for you. You need to find the right one. But yeah, and it just tells you that I was in a zone for about a year and a half where I didn't have, maybe it is a good thing, maybe it's not. I was in a zone for a year and a half where I didn't have the pallets, right? I just had the individual items I was going to pick up, getting a couple carloads a week, and I was making that work until Q4 hit, where I was now dealing with more competition. Well, guess what? I'm dealing with more competition. So that's not really so much of an option right now for the next 2 months. So I'm kind of falling back to the liquidation, going back to the storage unit and doing all the things. It's just time consuming, and it is not working as well as I thought it would. Taking on the extra expenses of this storage unit is a challenge, right? But I guess this whole thing just sparks this one question, and that is, how much is your time worth? So, I'm going through a lot of these parts, and yeah, there's some profitability in them, but we're talking quite some time to go through them. I have to do homework, find out what these individual parts happen to be. Sometimes the manual is helpful, but sometimes you're talking about internal parts where the manuals don't mention what these things are. So I guess the question is, what do you do? I kind of make these videos because I want to tell you about what I'm doing, but I also want to know, what do you do? I have a lot of merchandise, guys. I'm not going to abandon this merchandise. I've got to stay the course. Now, I haven't bought any, like I said, I haven't bought any pallets in quite some time, good 3-4 weeks. But I'm still buying the individual stuff that's holding up my main store. Fairly decent. I'm still at about 190 items, which is kind of on par with where I've been in the past. But uh, a lot of the really good stuff that I've been picking out of these pallets, like the top 3 or 4 or 5 items, well, because I haven't bought new pallets lately, I'm not able to get that right now unless I go out and buy more pallets. But I don't want to then fill the rest of my storage unit up to a point where I can't get to anything because I have all this, what I'll call remnants of a good pallet that I haven't even messed with because the juice is not worth the squeeze on some of those items. I have coffee makers, I have fans, I have electronics, and I'm feeling a little overwhelmed, if I'm being honest with you guys right now. And the desire to get content out there is there, just the time is not. And I kind of feel like I failed not only myself, but you guys, those who look forward to these videos. But I'm going to do everything I can to keep pushing forward and to make this grind work. You're going to have your good days, and you're going to have your not so good days. And on the not so good days, or the runs or the strings of not so good days, like what I'm having, you're just going to have to power through and to just make it work. And we can't control who's buying our items, but we can control getting these things up. And that's what I'm working on right now. How do I best manage that time to get these up and make the best profit I can? Because if I'm able to part a unit out that's broken and take the time to do that, I think it's better than taking an L and just throwing that whole unit away. I don't know what you guys think about that, but that's kind of where I'm at. So the question begs, what do you do? Tell me down below. I want to know. Guess what? It's November, and something that I wanted to tell you, give you an update on, when we decided to go in and seek insurance, medical insurance. Well, we had a meeting, a couple meetings, and it seems to be a little bit better, or a lot of bit better than it used to be for some reason. I don't understand why it is, but you're talking, you can get rates for two for a couple like Jen and myself for like $500 a month without any out of pocket expenses. Now I don't know why we weren't offered this a couple years ago when we checked into it, but we've gone without for a good solid 2 to 3 years without any kind of insurance, because we just don't want to have to not only pay $600, $700, $800 a month, plus before the insurance even kicks in, you're into the out of pocket expenses for like 6 to 7 thousand, and then they give you a generous 70-30 split. This one's a little bit different. We're finding some that are around $500 for the month, which is still kind of a bite in the ass if you're not expecting to pay that kind of money. But when your sales aren't increasing, so you're taking on these extra expenses like the storage unit and insurance, and now you're looking at $700-800 out of pocket for and you're not really getting anything. I mean, yeah, I'm getting the storage unit and all, don't get me wrong, but I'm trying to build my business up, and I guess in order to take on these expenses, you just gotta find a way to make more money, and that's the thing. I find myself kind of stagnant, if anything, maybe a little bit lower than last year in sales, and that's the scary thing. But we're gonna push forward, and so I get units like this, and I have to decide if it's worth more. This is a ceiling fan, I got to decide if it's worth either taking this fan, which might have a missing remote control, and try to sell it that way at a lesser price, or maybe put this up in parts and see if people want to buy parts. And it's just a very different way of making eBay work, and I'm flexible, right? So it's not like I'm stuck in my ways and I'm just like, okay, well, I'm not parting this stuff out, I'm just going to throw it in the trash. We'd have a huge pile every 2 weeks. We have someone that comes every 2 weeks to pick up. You don't see it, but we have just she got on me about having this pile of just boxes that either I've already parted out and this is the remnants of the unit, or I'm not bothering with it, right? I just got too much on my plate. If it's that messed up, it's just going to go in the trash. So, and I know I haven't made a whole lot of videos, maybe one in the last 2 weeks. I'm not talking about the lives, they're just actual videos. And I really want to do better, but I find myself looking at what I'm making on eBay, and I'm like, man, it makes me work more. You could say I'm working smarter. I mean, I'm working harder, not smarter, but I'm kind of in a bad spot right now. If I had to kind of evaluate it, I'm in a kind of a bad spot in that uh, I have a lot more of this merchandise, and I can't really cut my losses. I've got to. I'm not having bought any merchandise in the last 3 weeks. Not from at least the pallets. I bought the individual stuff because that's still a decent thing when I can get it. But it's these pallets that I really really love to buy, but the nature of the game is changing such, and I'm finding it out in real time after buying 6 pallets that Amazon returns are absolutely out of control, and people are just returning whatever the hell they want to, and there's really no integrity anymore with these buyers. And thankfully, eBay at least gives us the ability to do something when we get a bad return. And I think it's because these buyers know they're not dealing with a uh, actual buyer on Amazon. They're just dealing with Amazon who doesn't care that they can get away with it, but on eBay they can't. So yeah, so that's what I'm dealing with right now. Thought I'd give you guys an update, but I'm going to make this thing work. I'm determined, and if that means that I cut things out to make this work, then that's what I do. But we're going to incur more expenses, like I talked about, and I have no choice but to make this thing work. So I'm sure there's others out there that have their own problems, but you're tuning in to see mine, and hopefully my problems make you feel better about yours. But dealing with problems, adapting, which I talk about all the time, and making it work is yet another example of how flipping ain't easy. I want you guys to do me a favor here. Hit the like button, of course, to try to get your sales in the next 24 hours. That's a given. But if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing to the channel. All you got to do is go over and hit that button, and it'll help me a lot because we're kind of getting into a lull. We're not getting a whole lot of subscribers, and I'm trying to really build the channel. So if you could do me that favor, I'd certainly appreciate it. So guys, I want you to have an excellent rest of your day. Be sure to check out the live on Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. And until next time, have a great rest of your day. Take care.